Hey, everybody, welcome to another week of Crunching Your Growth, where we dive deep into the strategies, stories, and mindsets behind scaling today's most impactful businesses. I'm your host, Phil Masiello, and today we're unlocking the future of Amazon growth with Jon Tilley. He's the visionary co-founder and CEO of ZonGuru. From data intelligence to automation, he's been helping brands and agencies scale smarter, not harder. So let's bring him in and get to understand the story about how he chose that, why he chose it, and where he's going from there. We've got a special offer for you. He's got a new product that he's launching that is going to help with, we've talked, I think, last week or the week before about the changes that Amazon has made with AI and AI search, which everybody's seen, and how you have to do things on the back end. And so John's got some really good insight into it. So let's bring him in and let's talk about the future. Jon, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Phil, what's going on?
Just living the dream, my man, living the dream. So,
Yeah,
so for the audience, they don't necessarily, maybe some know you, some don't. Um, let's go back in time to how you started, why you chose this particular channel to get into, and how you've been scaling it along the way.
yeah. No, I'm excited to have the conversation and look back on the journey. And all of us entrepreneurs know it's a crazy journey. I think the first thing to mention is the accent. So I'm originally from South Africa. That's where I grew up and found my way over to the US, where I'm now based, and I've been here for 20 years, which is in Los Angeles, California. And the accent, I guess, stuck, so it hasn't quite been Americanized just yet. Um, and yeah, I had a crazy journey on finding my way to LA, but I think we'll start with Los Angeles and where I came up with the idea for ZonGuru. And my journey was one where I've had a long career in advertising. You know the gig. I worked for digital agencies globally, working on some big blue chip brands, both in South Africa, London, and then Los Angeles. But I always had, I guess, what I coined entrepreneurial FOMO. So fear of missing out. Always wanted to be, having their own business, but never quite found the place to make the jump, right? And
Right.
I've got a whole ideas on that, but eventually it came down to right on about 2014, 2015, where I stumbled into a conference in Las Vegas, of all places,
Yeah.
where conference on how to start your business and create products on Amazon. This
Yeah.
product-based journey, and I launched my first few products within 6 months on Amazon, created my own brands, scaled that, managed to walk happily out of the door of the agency that I was working for and focused on that for a minute. And then, started to think about the Amazon space and the technology that was needed and the opportunity that I was seeing, which obviously led to the launch of ZonGuru. So I'll kind of stop there for a second, but that's what really brought me to the moment of getting ready to launch ZonGuru.
Yeah. How long ago was that? How long ago was it that you were selling on Amazon and creating brands on Amazon?
Yeah, so that was 2014, and by 2015 I was launched and scaled quickly, to well over seven figures. Back in the good old days of everyone was saying it was easy to launch on Amazon. Whereas when I talked to people at that time, they were like, "Oh, it was easy to launch on Amazon 5 years before that, right?" It's always the story. But and then ZonGuru was launched early in 2017, and how that came about was, number one, the tools that were available in those days were pretty poor in a lot of ways, especially around data.
Yeah.
And there's a marketing saying, "GIGO, garbage in is garbage out," right? And that always stuck in my head of like, how could I improve the data input into these tools using first party data rather than estimates, and really get a lot more data quality so that we can then use that data and then formalize it and present it in a way that made sense to business people, where we answered business questions. And I think I had a good view of, as being a seller myself, what that visual way of looking at data should be. So that was the initial start of like, creating the tools. And the other part was like, hey, there's not just one place that we need to focus on when you're running a business on Amazon. there's a whole business life cycle. So how could we create tools at each part of that business life cycle through that lens of GIGO and through that lens of being a seller to present the right information so you can work, not in your business, but on your business, 30,000 foot view, scale it as an entrepreneur. So that's where we started.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who will tell you that, it was easier back then. We started, we had a brand called Raw Essentials, which was a beauty line. We launched it on the shopping channels back in the early 2000s, and we were selling worldwide. We were in Ulta Beauty, Sephora, etc. And I remember we got this email one day, and it was about 2006, and it was from somebody at Amazon saying, we're opening up the platform, the selling platform, to things other than books, CDs, music, and we wanted to know if you'd be interested in coming on. We've got a couple of other beauty product lines, and I was always looking for ways, other places to sell the product, and I said, what the heck? And, I was a customer of Amazon, but Amazon wasn't what it is today. And I thought, why not? And we did it. And it was truly a bit easier. And they did a lot more uh, for the sellers back then. They were sending out emails. They were, creating coupons that they paid for and things like that. And we used to be able to, I think you probably remember because I don't think they took it away until around 2018 or 2019, but we used to be able to send emails. There were third-party tools, and you could send emails to your customers who bought. I think you were allowed to send 3 emails to each customer. The only rule was you couldn't put your website in it, but I think you could brand it and you could do all kinds of things. And it was, and it worked really, really well to get legitimate reviews and things. But then it started to get a little nutty there. And we sold that business around 2011, 2012. And then I started a shaving brand, and we were on Amazon and did quite well. And and then, we sold that business, and I wound up, how I got into the agency side is a whole different story, and I don't want to bore anybody with that. But so really my experience on Amazon, like you, is a lot earlier. And it was in building brands on it. So.
Yeah, we actually were one of the first to develop that email automator. It's what the tool was called to send
Right.
email, right? So
Right.
we built email automator. We had built a review requests, which changed drastically in the space over the years. But those were kind of some of the first tools that we started to create around product research, business dashboards, review automation, and through that lens of being an entrepreneur and getting the right data at the right time. So that was our start, and it was a pretty cool start because we partnered with a partner of mine who started an education business called Reliable Education, and specifically the business was created around how do people today take advantage of this massive wave that was created, which was Amazon. How could you get on the back of this wave and help create a product-based business, which really puts you in financial, hopefully get to financial freedom and have that own financial control where, you have a business that's literally earning you money as you sleep every day. But importantly, and that was so exciting to me, is that course was taught from the view of, hey, this isn't just, a quick get rich quick, easy scheme where you could create a couple of products and throw it onto Amazon. If you truly wanted to take advantage of this opportunity, it was about creating real brands that are e-commerce brands that were great to sell as your first channel on Amazon, but hopefully you grow it beyond Amazon, and all the business practices that you should have around creating a scalable, true operational business were being taught. And we came in as the partners on that to ultimately have the right data and the right tools to help these individuals grow. And it was a pretty cool success story. I think, at certain times over those years, we had 4,000 or 5,000 students, in the room that we were presenting to, helping to teach them about, taking advantage of this opportunity. And a lot of them, have still got businesses today and scaled them and really got that financial freedom that they had. So there was a lot of reward in that first part of it. And that was a big funnel that came into Zonguru. So, going back to the business entrepreneur side, that was some of the fun times with how do we actually build the tool that all of these students wanted and keep up, right? Being a startup and developing the tool and it breaking and having real audiences that wanted to use it and really trying to navigate and grow with them at the time. So those were really fun times, and working with different engineers globally, and even through to doing some back of the pub, back of the bar presentations to a few people in Los Angeles, getting them to sign up and getting those first employees or first clients signed up to Zonguru and getting them paid was a pretty wild time back in those days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tough, man. People always look at the business once it's scaled, and it always looks like it was an easy ride, but it's never an easy ride. But yeah, I actually I wrote a book in 2016 or 2017 on selling on Amazon, and within a year it was pretty much obsolete, and just I never finished, I never fixed it, because never updated it, I guess is a better word, because it was just, things were moving so fast. In the beginning, first couple of years, things moved a little bit slow, but then it was just constant change, constant evolution. So, which I would
Yeah, and
imagine from your perspective must have been a little bit difficult to continually change some of the tools to meet the changes going on at Amazon.
absolutely, and I think that is a true parallel between our business and other technology software companies is ultimately where you start, and the vision that you have might not mean, most likely will mean it's different where you end up, right? And
Sure.
you're in this river, and you have to kind of pivot with the times and what's happening in the industry, and make sure that you're constantly at the cutting edge of bringing value to customers. And for us, that was a pretty crazy journey, and it's getting crazier, obviously, with AI and how fast we have to move. But in those early times, there was a big focus, on our journey, which was focused on small businesses, mom and pops, these individuals who could create these brands and compete against the best brands in the world. And how do we give them technology? But over time, as the industry got more sophisticated, you got additional services coming in. Agencies started to arrive, especially over that COVID time, and where we were competing became a lot harder. And so we pivoted with that, and started to focus more on creating technology and tools for agencies, which is most of where we focus today is on enterprise brands and agencies. And then through to our latest shift as we have, which is within that tool set, finding our true essence and DNA, which is around the optimization of your storefront and your content for more visibility and conversion, the SEO for Amazon, or the GEO, generative engine optimization for Amazon, and how we are truly right now looking back engineered for Amazon's AI moment, which is happening right now, and how we can help to bring the most cutting edge value right now at this moment to customers, be that agencies or larger brands on Amazon. So it is definitely a journey, and you have to be very alert to what's happening in technology, but also what's happening within your niche and how things are changing and pivoting, and go with that flow to survive, but also to just continue to bring value.
Yeah. That's a good segue into that discussion, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, because we were talking about GEO and the changes of AI and SEO and all on websites, because that's sort of what we're more focused on, and it's changing rapidly. And there's some tools out there, but most of the stuff we built internally for our own clients. But you know Amazon better. So why don't you talk a little bit about what those changes are? I know people have seen it from the consumer side. Everybody's sort of seen it from the consumer side, and the search changes. But let's talk a little bit about that, and then what you've developed to solve that problem.
Yeah, I think traditionally, Amazon has changed, right? But at the end of the day, Amazon its strength is it's a distribution engine for an intent based search, right? As a customer, you're searching for a product, and you're going to get that in 1 day or 2 days or same day, right?
Right.
That's a phenomenal you know uh, system that they've built that has obviously just crushed it globally, right? Any market they
Sure.
launch it, they do fantastically. But underneath that, what's kind of also strange is, as a technology distribution company, they are always a little bit behind the times when it comes to technology, right? If you look at Google Ads and what Google Ads did to Google, Amazon's always been 3, 4, 5 years behind where the cutting edge of Google of paid ads are, right? And they're kind of just catching up right now and almost making the same mistakes that Google made, right? So it's funny to see this amazing technology company be a little bit behind the times when it comes to technology, and we see that on their services internally as well. But I would say with AI specifically and how that's changing consumer search, Amazon has to be at the cutting edge. They have to catch up and be very quick because they can't lose that experience to other platforms. Right?
Right.
And AI fundamentally is a complete change to how consumers find and engage and experience products. And we're obviously at the very tipping point of that. And there's going to be massive changes that are going to come in the future. And if Amazon isn't on that ball, they're going to be left behind very quickly, right? And so we see that already starting to happen in Amazon's algorithm and its search functionality. And the best way I can explain that is like for everyone here who's using AI, right, whether it's ChatGPT or you're using Google, right, and you're using Gemini, which is their AI overviews, those summaries that come up at the top. Even when ChatGPT came out, everyone thought, hey, Google's going to fall behind and actually going to lose a lot of traction. But they've reacted incredibly fast and created a similar kind of AI experience inside of Google as you would get with ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. Right? And so Amazon is doing the same thing. So when you're on, let's say for Google, and you're like, hey, I always make this example. Hey, I hurt my knee and I had a knee surgery and I need a knee brace. What's the best knee brace for this type of surgery? If you type that into Google, you're going to get those AI overviews that will explain and say, hey, you had that kind of surgery. This is what you should do. Here's some examples, right? You now get that same experience or a similar experience on Amazon where you engage with Rufus. So Rufus is the AI assistant where you can type in and you can ask questions and you get recommendations and answers back, and they try to guide you on what to look for in the products, obviously recommend products, or if you give an experience, what are the types of products that you might want to use around an experience. So it's moving into this forced world of AI, which is not just intent, hey, I want this type of product, but also, hey, this is an experience or something that's happening or behavior. What do you recommend? So it's becoming more of that research platform, and Amazon has to keep up. And so they've developed Rufus, which is this system that you engage with, and then the algorithmic piece behind that, which is called Cosmo. And there's big changes happening on Cosmo and how they've moved away from this intent-based keyword stuffing way of finding listings into this more intelligent algorithm that helps to connect your product with the right intent-based searches and experiences that people are looking for to find those products. So a big shift, and we can talk about what those details are as well.
Yeah, we have a question which I think is a valid one. A few weeks ago, Amazon stopped funding ads on Google Shopping. And it sort of corresponded with a lot of the rollout of their AI products. Do you think there's a correlation? Do you think that they saw they don't need to spend money running Google shopping ads and are going to rely more on people searching?
Yeah. So I think if I read between the lines, I think a lot of that is to do with setting up for negotiations, right? And there's a power play that's happening because at the end of the day, with these AI overviews that are happening, there's already talk of, okay, ChatGPT is going to be launching its own shopping platform with the shopping cart. There's going to be, Gemini is certainly going to have that. Perplexity is going to have it, right? And so what is happening behind the scenes in terms of how they negotiate that, right? Because is there going to be an API engagement between Amazon and these shopping platforms, including Google, right? So that, if there's a shopping cart, there can be ads, there can be, Amazon ads for those products, building in that kind of injection into that area, or is it just going to rely on GEO? And how do the AI, overviews consider Shopify, but also Amazon products, Walmart, etc., and how do they expose those, right? And is that, is it just an organic GEO play, or is there a paid play as well? And for sure, in my sense, there's going to be some kind of engagement between those platforms and either pulling in content from Amazon through a paid way and a split on fees, or a way of API connecting into that and putting your own storefronts into those fronts. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and I would say Amazon stopping there is more of a power play at the end of the day, and seeing how things flesh out, and I'm sure it's coming back, if not already. So there's a lot of that happening there, but Google's paid ads is not going to go away, but how they take that and then engage that into the experience of the AI overviews is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I don't think Google's paid ads are going to go away. I think
No ways. There's
you
no
know
ways.
what I was talking to this guy Frederick Valle, who was with Google in the early stages of setting up the ad platform, and when Amazon took the ads down, or took the shopping ads down, specifically shopping ads, and we had a good conversation about it, because my take was it was it was more of a test to see if they actually needed them, because what we saw after the first month was across the board in Google, cost per click went down, clicks to websites went up, but conversion rates fell, and people still went obviously to Amazon. They didn't need that prompt of seeing it come up on Amazon. They still went to Amazon. And I think, to your point, is that a power play? Sure, certainly. It's part of it, but I also think they're spending a lot of money on it, and they have to figure out, where to spend that money wisely. We were on a call about a month ago about Chat GPT and how that's evolving, and there's definitely going to be a marketplace on ChatGPT, absolutely, by probably first or second quarter of 2026, with a paid ad uh, section to it. And I think it'll be great, because we already see, over the last 6 months, we've already seen the effects of ChatGPT search going to websites and getting, we spend a lot of time and effort getting websites to show up in ChatGPT search, e-commerce sites, to get those sales. But we're seeing sales on websites coming from ChatGPT, and have been for about 6 months. So it's definitely an interesting time of what's happening everywhere technologically.
Yeah, absolutely. And how that plays out, and what kind of you know back of the office negotiations are going to happen between platforms like Amazon,
Yeah,
Shopify, and these overlays of platforms and carts is going to be really interesting to see. And the one thing that we've been testing a lot on our side is this idea of GEO, generative engine optimization, both on Amazon, and the schematic outlay, the schema outlay of your pages on Amazon, right? And what is the similarities between what Amazon, Cosmo and Rufus are looking for in your listing from a
right.
schematic perspective to be visible, right? And then what's the parallels between that and things like ChatGPT, Gemini, and how are they schematically trying to read listings to get visibility, and what influences those, and answer engines, what feeds those, and what we're seeing. No surprise, there's a lot of similarities across those,
Sure.
right? And so, the position we take is like, how do we Cosmo Rufus is a black box. We obviously have very good understandings of what that looks like, but how do we reverse engineer and map those listings? Number one, for human conversion in the better way, right? But number two, how do we map it for the technical aspects of what Cosmo is looking for, so that it can semantically match to the universe of keywords? But what's also kind of cool, and what we see, is that if we structure that correctly, the AI overviews are reading and surfacing your listings in a much more visible way, right? So not only now are you mapping your listing for better visibility on Amazon, that is generating through into these AI overlays, and you're getting more visibility there. So that's really exciting to us, because we're saying, okay, we're future proofing your listings right now, not only for what's happening on Amazon, but beyond, right? Especially in the
Right.
GEO space. And that is going to reap a lot of rewards. So we that's where we focus right now, and it does transcend Amazon for sure. And just the other exciting part of that is just like using AI in what it's really good at doing, which is deep research and understanding your consumer better, So not only are you mapping for the technical side of Amazon, but you're creating your content, images, and content in such a more emotive way that connects better with customers, and you get a better, higher conversion rate, and therefore you rank better as well. So it's pretty exciting just to, like, as an entrepreneur, but as someone in the space, like, this fear of what AI does and how fast it moves. But if you're in it and you're at the forefront and you're using it, it's just so cool to see what it can actually help you with, right?
Oh, absolutely. Um, you know, I did I did a mastermind class about a week ago with a bunch of startup entrepreneurs, and one of the topics came up. AI always comes up, and I said, you have to stop treating AI as an app, and start treating AI as just another function within your business. No different than finance, marketing, or operations. AI is now part of your business. It has to touch everything, and you have to look at how can I use AI to increase my sales, lower my costs, not necessarily just to eliminate jobs, but to get you 60 or 70% of the way there in giving you more visibility and giving you more sales and saving you money. Because I think a lot of people still use AI as an app. Generate content, generate images. Okay, great. We've been using AI in our business for about 6 or 7 years, and one of the first places we started using it was just analyzing large amounts of data, because it can do that so efficiently, and so effectively in a very short period of time. So I agree with you. It's exciting to see how it's evolving, but I think uh, some brands, or especially smaller ones under 10 million, really need to understand more how to use it correctly and how to use it to get a desired result. So
100%. And those results and the strategies that you can use AI to better perform on and functionally do them quicker, faster, and better are traditionally the same strategies, the business strategies, the marketing strategies that we've had around for decades, right? And
sure.
you and I have been around long enough that we were here for the social media transformation, and people reacted the same way. Well, this is just a specific app or a specific thing or a specific tool, and the game has changed. But at the end of the day, it was just a functional way of doing things based on the traditional ideas of marketing, but just do it in a better way, right? And so that's why I tell a lot of people not to panic. Like, it's not changing everything completely. There's still the same traditional things that we've talked about. How do you understand your customer better? How do you connect with your customer better through emotion? If you don't understand your customer and you don't create a great ICP of how you're different, and you don't understand your competitors, how do you really compete in the marketplace? Those are traditional things of what you need to do. And AI is so good at helping you to really discover those things in a deep way, and in a fast way, right? So use all those things to then help leverage your business and get to your final end result in a much smarter way, right? And so we're doing that obviously within everything that we do, and you have to be better, faster, and on top of it. Otherwise, you get caught in the noise, right? And that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're 100% right. I mean, the fundamentals never change. It's just the tools that we use to get there. I talk
Right.
about this all the time because we talk about storytelling and marketing. But we started out putting brands on the shopping channels, and when you look on the shopping channels, HSN, QVC, et cetera, it's all storytelling for a half an hour on why you should buy this product. And so we've been able to take that and sort of boil it down and really become really good at short form video for social media. And we did direct response TV for one of our brands, and it's the same thing. You're on for a minute or 2 minutes doing storytelling. So anyway, that just never changed. The only thing that's changed is the platform that we're on now, because it's gotten more with TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts. We've been able to use that same methodology that we used on shopping channels for this same approach and same result. So
Yeah. Yeah.
why don't
Yeah.
you can
Go
you
ahead.
can you show the your new tool that you have to make sellers' lives easier, or improve themselves? Because I think what's happening is there's a lot of discussion about this out there, but there's not a lot of people who really understand what they have to do. And there's a lot of changes on the back end of a product setup page now on Amazon that are important to take advantage of Rufus and Cosmo. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can show what we are actually launching right now,
yeah,
and some of the exciting part behind it. Let me see if I can share my screen right here. Can you see my screen?
hang on, hang on. So let me see. Can we do it? Wait, which is a good way of doing it? Let me see. I guess that's the best way. So yeah,
You can see it? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah. So this is actually live right now. This is our Cosmo transformation service, right? And the concept behind this is the best listings that you had on Amazon and storefronts last year are actually increasingly becoming invisible to end customers if they have not been optimized and mapped for the latest changes in Amazon's algorithm, right? And
Right.
so the idea here is the original algorithm that Amazon has in play is called the A9 algorithm, and that is very intent based. The archaic way of helping to influence the algorithm was to just keyword stuff your listings, put in all the different keywords that are relevant that people find your product on, and they would use that information to then map you to those keywords and give you visibility. And where it's moved to now is this idea of the AI intelligent algorithm called Cosmo and the answer engine portion of that called Rufus, which actually has a technical way of mapping your content. And there's a functional way of using AI to read your content and then look at how it should be mapped technically and where the gaps are, and then making sure that that's mapped in the right way in your listing so that the intelligent algorithm can actually read your content in the right way and map you for the universe of keywords, right? So that's the kind of cool part about it is not only can you go back to really using natural language and emotive ways of talking about a brand and connecting with it, as long as you mapped to that technical mapping, you can get the connection with all of the keywords that are out there in the marketplace. So that's the thing that we focused on in this transformation service. So taking your best listings from last year or from this year and actually enhancing them for the latest algorithmic changes. So you're mapping it on top of it. So we're future proofing it by acknowledging, that there is intent-based keyword relevancy, and we have to account for that in the listings. But as this algorithm shifts to Rufus and Cosmo, how do we make sure that we have the technical mapping and the answer engine aspect built into the quality score of your listing so that you can map and connect with that? And that's what we do on our side, and we test and we optimize. So that's the first part of the service, is actually the content. And the second piece is your images and how you actually stack your carousel, and what is the narrative that you talked about? What is the visual narrative that you should be telling through your images? Customers buy with their eyes, right? So how do we visually tell that? And then also, how do we ensure that those images are best positioned to feed visibility to the AI? Because AI actually reads your images. So there's a role that the images play on helping consumers to convert, but also what content is in those images and how is it visible to AI so they can read those and give you more visibility. So those are the things that we capture in the service. And you literally just fill out this form. You pay per listing that you optimize. There's no subscription or anything. You literally just pay for every ASIN that you want optimized. You go through a process, and then we give you the final product on the back end. I'll show you what that product looks like in a second, but I want to tell the audience here a little bit about what we do. And this goes back to what we just talked about, which is what are the traditional marketing and product best practices that we need to make sure we follow, but we use AI to do it better than we could ever do before. And that's what we've built into this multi-agent system that we have, which is we have all of these agents that become specialists in each area of your product. So for example, if you fill this out, the first thing that we do is we have an agent that learns your brand. So we learn everything about that brand, your brand tone, your USP, how do you what's your unique selling proposition, how do you identify yourself? What is the customer sentiment? What are customers out there? What are they looking for around this type of product? And we truly understand that target audience and that product. And then what are your competitors saying in the marketplace? What are the commonalities, but where are the gaps? So we have this agent that really builds this whole kind of marketing plan around everything that we know from the brand tone, your USP. We find that sweet spot and we say, okay, now we know exactly what needs to be communicated to better connect with your audience that we understand, and therefore, if we structure it in the right way, we can get more conversions, and get your narrative, your visuals, and everything right. But then we map on top of that the visibility, so that not only is your conversion rate higher, but how it's technically mapped for the AI is done as well. We do all of that in the background, and then we give you these final PDF reports, which basically tell you exactly what you need to do for the listings, which is pretty cool. And this is what it looks like. So at a high level, I'll show you this one first. You get one report, which is all around the content. And what's cool is that this is an example in the automatic cat feed.
So this would be the report that you would get.
Yeah. So you would submit your ASIN. Gotcha. We would give you back two final reports, one on your images, one on your content. And then we actually give you the CSV that you can upload directly into Amazon and publish this as well, right? So we give you everything you need to basically, execute on everything that's in here. But what's in these PDFs, which is cool, is that we not only tell you how your listings scored and how they rated before, but we recommend what it needs to change to now, and then we tell you the reasons why, and we show you, hey, technically how you should map as well. So, for anyone who's in here, we're not just giving you the final product, we're telling you all the reasons why you should do it as well. So, this is an example, a cat feeder, but we give you, an overview of what's in the document, and then we actually get right into, hey, this is your current content, this is your new optimized content, title, bullets, description, and back in search terms. But we also tell you, hey, this is what it was like. You can see this is more like an ingredient reading, content, like programmable time feeding, easy to use and maintain. And where we've moved it to is things like worry-free feeding schedule, healthy weight management, days of peace and mind. You can see it's like a lot more emotive. It's thinking about like, what is the customer sentiment? What are they concerned about? How do we connect better? Right. So we do this all in the copy. And then on the below that, we start to talk about how your listing was technically mapped before, now how it's emotionally mapped, which is really important for the algorithm. We get into the features and benefits, how we've evolved them from, just being straightforward to addressing the type of emotions that the customers are actually putting into reviews, putting into the customer sentiment on Amazon. And then we get into the technical mapping. So here we have this whole technical mapping, which is, this useful function, situation, etc. And we show you what it was and how we've made it, the changes, and how we mapped it, right? So we map it there. The A9 algorithm, the most relevant keywords, we show you how we've covered those. And then we get into Rufus answer engine. So what are the main FAQs? How do we answer them in your listings and address those things so that you appear in the answer engine side? And then we get into your brand voice understanding, how we map that for the sentiment of your customers, the ICP, and then how we map that in your listing. And then the final piece is compliance, right? So there's a lot there, and I don't want to get too deep because there's too much. There's a lot going on there, but we also do it on the visual side as well, which is this PDF as well. And we go through a similar process, but we're using AI to do all the deep research and then come back and say, hey, this is exactly what customers want, the sentiment. Here's your competitive landscape and how your narrative of the visual side compares to your competitors. And then we get into every single image. So we tell you, based on that, what are the recommended order of the narrative to tell the right story? And then in each image, what should you put in there? What should the image look like? And what copy should you put into that image as overlays? And what alt text you should put on the back end to ensure that you get read better by the engine as well. We give you all of this, and we also give you visual prompts. Now, why do we give you visual prompts that you can add to Gemini, ChatGPT, Nano Bananas, whatever you want? Because at the end of the day, we're still holding on to this position that right now your creative execution of your images should be done by a creative designer and not by AI. But you can use AI as your visual inspiration. So we give you everything you need, and then we give you a prompt that you can visually add in for inspiration to give to your creative person to say, hey, this should be the angle of what it should look like, and this is the copy overlay that goes in. Now design it. So this is like the deep research and the creative requirements, technical specs that you would give to your creative person to actually execute, to give you the optimized visual narrative in your images, to give you the optimized visual inspiration of what that image could look like, optimized copy that goes into each of those carousels, and then the A plus content at the end of the day. So we give you this full document plus A plus content, all the copy that should be written, and the visual guideline. And then if you prompt it, you get these line items back. So it'll show you the exact angle, what you should pull out in each image, the copy overlays that should go on it, and then your creative team can take it and execute on it. So pretty deep on all of that. So at the end of the day, we're giving you all the copy, technically mapped, best for human conversion as well, and an image guideline, exactly how you should do all your images, what copy, how you should put in there to be visible and get the best human conversion. So that's ultimately what AI can help with. Plus our technical team is expertise to say, hey, we recognize there's a human buying this product. How do we optimize for human conversion? But we recognize there's an AI, algorithm that needs to give you the most visibility. And this is how you need to structure it to make sure that you map for that as well.
Yeah, that's a great tool. I mean, it's fantastic, and I agree with you on images. Like too many people are trying to create these AI created images and using them, but it's not something that I see as being effective, because the customer wants authenticity and the customer wants to see specific things. That's why these plug and play systems that are out there for advertising say, oh, we plug it into your website and we'll create ads for you, and then you can fire your marketing firm. Yeah, that's all well and good, but all it's doing is taking your product, putting a little swirly background on it, and saying, essentially, buy me. It just doesn't get the emotion across. It doesn't. It's
100%.
just,
yeah. And so, AI is very good at doing the deep research to find what that nugget is that you should be putting in front of your customer, and then giving you some inspirational ideas of how you could actually communicate that. But the human expert is the one who needs to take that information and do the final product. And we're very, we lean on that a lot. And I think this is the kind of thing that really helps at the end of the day, is giving the right information the right way to the brand owner who can finally execute on it. And that also goes back to the question of like, why are we doing this? And, not just why doesn't Amazon why don't they just do it and take the control away from brands? Yes, they want to help you in some ways, and they're certainly developing some AI assistant ways of doing that. But at the end of the day, brand owners, agencies and brand owners have to be the one to control what that brand essence is and how that is communicated to customers. Because if you can't rely on that brand expert and that brand owner to really communicate and put their best foot forward, there's no way Amazon's going to ever do that. And if you don't allow your brand owner to do that, the end customer loses their user experience and doesn't buy what they want to buy, and they over time will go away. So, as much as AI might speed things up, they're never going to take the control away from allowing the brand owner or the agency to control what that message is and how to give it to your end customer.
No, I think if they were going to do that, they would have done it a long time ago. I mean, certainly they had little prompts about recommendations about how you can improve things, which were okay, but not always accurate. So I think they would have, if they were really concerned about, helping somebody build their organic search on Amazon, they would have done it a long time ago. So
that's right.
That's a great tool.
Yeah, and back to that, I think Amazon has other things to focus on. So, us coming in as experts to truly help that brand or that owner or that agency express that product in the right way, that's where we help, because we fundamentally understand that outside of your product, your storefront and your listing is the heartbeat of that e-commerce business. And if you don't get that right, everything else you do on top of that is falling short. PPC, everything else. So you have to nail this. And if anybody wants to try the tool, I have a special offer right here for you guys. And that is, you can use this technology. You submit an ASIN. It's $100 per ASIN. It's early access to the tool. You run through the system. It is powered by AI, but we have a human tech team and an expert team that looks at that and qualifies and makes sure everything is good. And you get those final products back. And if you go to that link there, zonguru.link/CG-Cosmo100, CG for Crunch Growth, you will get early access and you can use the tool. So again, zonguru.link/CG-Cosmo100.
So is it 100% automated, or is there human intervention in there somewhere?
There is human quality checks and aspects along the way that we check on our side, and we engage with the person, the brand or agency that's actually submitted the ASIN, right? So we fundamentally have this multi-agent system that is built to bring in all this additional information, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we actually give you the opportunity to input into that as well,
Sure.
and that's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, fantastic. Really interesting. Really interesting. And I agree 100%. I mean, we've been not only on Amazon, like I said, but on websites focused on this for about 6 months because it's coming. It's coming very rapidly, and I think uh, you and I were on a call a couple of weeks ago, and I think you said if you're not optimized now, for the fourth quarter, you've sort of lost that fourth quarter because
Mm-hmm.
so many other people have taken advantage of optimizing their Amazon listings. So people want to get on this as fast as possible because things are changing extremely rapidly. One thing that I do see with in my opinion, the weakest part of Amazon listings when I look at other brands and things is always comes down to the images. It always comes down to the images and the videos. It's like people just don't take those as serious, and they're extremely important. Like the words are important, yes, the content is important, but those images and videos that you put on there are extremely important. And I see it as almost an afterthought in a lot of cases. So but we do see a lot of AI images, and I can't stand it. I mean, I love AI. We've been using it for about 6 or 7 years, and there's a lot of things we do with it, but I do not create images with it. I'll create the concept of the image, and
Sure.
then we'll
Yeah.
build the image, or we'll give it to a photographer. But I don't like those images. I think they're just. And I just read a study where people, the general population, whether it's consumers or whether it's other business people, don't like it. Listen, we've got about 3 minutes left. So any wrap ups, anything you want to talk about to wrap up with, any parting words for entrepreneurs out there, Amazon
Yeah.
sellers,
I think.
Amazon brand builders?
Yeah. I think whether you're a service provider or you have your own brands, you need to be on top of AI. Like this has obviously been a change in our space, and you have to be at the forefront of that, not to be left behind, right? And um, I think there's innovation ahead as part of that, and there's joy, and many ways that we can use it in the right way. And for us, our focus is on going back to the things that have always been around for Zonguru, which is truly helping brands to become, well, individuals to become brands and to become true e-commerce brands, not only on Amazon but beyond. And that goes back to, you know, using our expertise, AI team that we have to understand the business problems that you have to solve at the right level so that you can connect better with your customers and get more sales and revenue and profit. And that's where we're going to help. And I think everyone listening, whether they're selling or a service provider, have to just lean into the amazing tools that are available right now.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you continually say brands because one of the things that always drove us nuts was people who just went on as sellers, and I never liked that model. But we've always been brand builders, even when we were on just on Amazon, focused on Amazon. We were always brand builders. So, it
For sure.
warms my heart to hear you talk about branding all the time. So, um, that's great. I apologize. We have a couple of comments. We didn't get to them. I apologize. We were rolling, but I'm sure that if you listen, you'll see some of those were answered. Some were around the pricing of the product, which we answered $100 uh, per SKU or per ASIN, and and some others. So I apologize we didn't get to them. We're running short on time, and I didn't want to cut John off. So, um, but yeah, thanks for joining us. And I thought big thanks to John for sharing the insights on how Amazon sellers can harness data and automation to scale. Remember, business isn't just about numbers; it's about creating meaning through impact and growth. So until next time, keep pushing, keep growing, keep scaling, and remember, when you're crunching data, you're crunching growth. So enjoy yourselves, and we see you next week.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, John.